Take the Leap is the podcast where we get real about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and life. Sure, some folks make running a business look like a walk in the park, but let's be honest, it's more like a wild ride through a theme park with a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Join us, your co-hosts, Ashlyn
and Tori,
as we spill the beans on our own real-life experiences and shine a spotlight on some amazing guests. From the highs of success stories to the lows of epic failures. And hey, we'll even throw in some cringe-worthy, laugh-out-loud, embarrassing moments for good measure.
So buckle up and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for a dose of raw, unfiltered truth about what it's really like to chase your dreams and build a business.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the startup world, we've got something for everyone. Even if it's just to make you think, wow, I'm glad I didn't do what they did.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Take the Leap. Ashlyn, how are you today?
I'm doing good, honestly. I feel like it's sunshiny. So whenever we go walking in our neighborhood, I never take my phone with me because we're just doing a loop. I need to before these flowers go away. Did you know that cactuses have flowers bloom on top of them?
I feel like that's a piece of information I've heard before, but definitely did not
Never seen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and never seen it before.
Yeah. They look like, before they bloom, they look like little green pine cones on top of them, and now they're all starting to bloom. And we're all, every time we go out, we're like, what color is it going to be? Didn't expect it to be yellow or this pinkish color. So it's also giving me ideas that when we finally buy a house, how I want to landscape my house.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
Really cute. So, well, yes, you should take your phone with you and take pictures.
Yes.
Also, I don't know how you don't take your phone with you, because for me, I can't walk or do anything without listening to an audiobook.
We do
and that's my
dog walk time. Yeah, we do family dog walk time. So
that's okay. That's fair. I don't do that when I'm walking with my family either. So
yeah.
But every time I go on solo walks, I'm always have an audiobook going. There's something about and maybe it's because I have a kid, putting my headphones on and just escaping for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really helps me out a lot.
Yeah. That having your own world thing is really nice. Yeah.
Well, the reason why I love audiobooks, I love podcasts too. I haven't been listening to them as much lately, but I do love them. Obviously, we have a podcast. I listen to ours. But the thing about books that I love is because I read fiction, and then when I'm listening, especially, it's really nice to just listen to somebody else's problems that are not real. And they might feel high stakes when I'm listening to them, but they're nobody's actually dying,
Yeah.
So it's I get to hear this drama from someone else, and then I kind of forget about what's happening in real life for a little bit, and then when I come back to real life, I'm thinking about you know what I mean? It's just I get to just shut my brain off for a bit. It's just so nice. And that's I love reading physical books, and I love listening to books. But I think that's the biggest benefit of listening to books sometimes is I literally just shut my brain off and listen. That's all I do. So
yeah, I need to try more audiobooks. I feel like I'm doing them in the wrong context. Definitely can't. I feel like now that I'm an entrepreneur, I can't listen to podcast or audiobooks the way that I used to when I worked at a job. And maybe it's because I'm doing different things, not just updating spreadsheets or, pulling data or something like that. But yeah, so I feel like I would probably enjoy them more if I do something listen to them on a walk or listen to them at the gym or something like that, instead of trying to type something out or be working on something during the day for them.
Yeah, I can't do it while I work because I
Yeah.
can't focus.
Yeah, on both things.
I'll stop working and just listen,
Yeah.
or vice versa. I'll be like in the middle of something, be like, wait, what? Like,
Because that's what I've had to do. I was like, shit, I'm rewinding it now because I missed this entire spot. But before I forget, because you will appreciate this, and Mary will appreciate this if she listens to this episode. So one of my clients just told me she's reading Fourth Wing right now, and she works with nonprofits, and you know how all of the first years like die. She was like, oh, it's like nonprofits after year one, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a like an interesting analogy, but that is true. They do not have the resources that they need to survive, and they don't make it past
they
year
don't
one.
make it past, that year one.
Yeah,
It's a little dark, but yeah.
it was a little dark, but so true. I'm just like, oh my gosh, talk about like an analogy to
A real life
our real life thing.
application. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Ashlyn, I didn't come here to talk to you about books, although I always will.
I was going to say, we will always go down that rabbit
We'll
hole.
always go to books. Maybe this should just be a book podcast. But really, I wanted to chat today about our conversation with our guest, Aman. That was such a fun conversation. I had never met him before.
Yeah.
So I really loved diving into his story and getting to know him.
Mhm.
And one of the things he said that I wanted to bring back up and like chat through, he said success isn't about money. And he really emphasized that enjoying that journey and that is what has the biggest impact for him more than like the financial gain from owning
Mhm.
a business. And I want to bring that up because on one hand, yes, we need money, and I do need money to survive. And money was a big motivating factor of starting my own business. And it's important. We live in a capitalistic society, and I think one of the ways that we can fight back against some of the things that are happening from that is to build our own wealth, right?
Mhm.
But that aside, I think more than just the financial piece, I started my own business because I wanted my own freedom. I wanted to make my own decisions. I wanted my own life. And then throughout that process, I had a kid, and then it was like, okay, it's really important to me to continue to do this so that I get to make the decisions I want to make for my family, so that I get to have the flexibility to see my son, so that I'm not commuting every day, so that I'm not away from him all the time.
Mhm.
Again, that was like a decision that I personally made for myself. And I think just to kind of emphasize his point there, it's like there's just so much to life.
Mhm.
And I think he really talked a lot about how his journey was so impactful for him, especially since he was saying that he wasn't actually ever planning on becoming an entrepreneur. And so I just thought that was really interesting. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, that's just something that you can do, or something that you need to think about too as you're starting your journey into entrepreneurship is how much you get to be like reflective on that journey. And I think about it more, in terms of like if you look at what you were doing before, if you had like, a day job, W-2, regular old job, how often were you ever reflective on like the day to day of your happenings? Probably only, at the end of the year when you're doing your performance evaluations and you're like, shit, I have to write how I met all these goals that were arbitrarily set for me by my boss while they were not, like clearing the path or the barriers for me to meet these goals. Like it felt like in a lot of the jobs that I was at, I was just like, hey, can the 5 goals be like things you're already going to have me do instead of like somehow you're trying to like create 5 new things on top of your regular, like day job that you're trying to do that nobody ever has time for because why would you ever make time for, the things that are not the most urgent and important things to happen. And so, yeah, so I think, that was the space that you were given. And then if you had like a more prepared leadership, maybe you were looking at them monthly, maybe you were looking at them quarterly, but really the whole thing about that was like, oh my God, are you going to pay me more next year because inflation? Or are you just going to give me like a cost of living wage adjustment? Or are you not even going to give me a cost of living wage adjustment? So, whatever I make is not even worth as much this year as next year. And now I feel like I'm just harping on the way other companies work. But yeah, so taking a moment to reflect and look back at that journey of yourself in entrepreneurship and like how far you've come and, like what you had to do to get here. I mean, gosh, if you had told me that our accountability huddles while Tori was traveling in a fifth wheel across the country was going to turn into weekly accountability empathy sessions with her on a podcast. Like, I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? Are we
Like a
going there?
podcast, really?
Like, yeah.
Are those ever done now?
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, you get to be in that journey. And yes, I mean, of course, like we financially want to make money through this. Like we're not independently wealthy or working for free. But I've even been thinking about myself now that that it's me alone, solo. Like, how much do I actually want? What do I want? Like out of this, what feels right for me, sort of thing. So that is something that you get to do as an entrepreneur because you have, you can make and take that space and not be beholden to something somebody else is setting for you. And that was a really rambly response, but yeah.
I loved it though. I mean, it's true. It's all about the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, kind of similarly segueing into kind of the next point that I really wanted to focus on from our conversation with him. He really learned through his journey
Mm-hmm.
that accepting a no is just as important as chasing the yes. So what he was saying in the context of that conversation was that in sales, when you can learn to identify a no earlier in the game, it helps you to move on more efficiently. It frees up your time and your energy and your schedule so that you can chase those yes opportunities. So I thought that was so powerful. Like I really want to write that down because I mean, throughout this journey of being an entrepreneur, I'm also learning how to be a salesperson for my business. I'm also learning how to look at opportunities and see what I can do and make connections. And it's just like such an empowering thing to be like, oh, they said no. That's okay. It's not a good fit. And there's going to always be people like that. Like you aren't going to be everything for everyone. You're not going to solve everybody's problems. So people are going to say no to you. And when you can learn to identify that sooner, then you can move on to the people who are like, oh, this was kind of a cold lead or just like a lukewarm lead, but now these ones are, warmer. I'm going to focus on them. And yeah, I thought that was really great.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, so one, hearing him say that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, who is on the hook with me that I haven't told,
Yeah.
like, no, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like we are guilty of this as women. We don't like to disappoint people. We
Yeah.
don't like to be harsh, and we don't want to feel mean. But there are certain times when people come to you, especially salespeople, that you're just like, fuck, I am never going to do that. Never,
No. So why entertain that? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Um, it's like, I like to use, apparently I'm using lots of dating analogies now, but it's like, don't lead somebody on, right?
Yeah.
If you're never going to be with them, like be open, transparent, and let them know. And it's kind of the same way in sales conversations. And I do notice that a lot with, like I have had to reach out to people who kind of went cold after, like they didn't say yes or no to my proposal. They never got back to me, and whatnot. And, and if I don't get any response, I'll reach out to them in like, 60 to 90 days, just kind of depending on things and I really do it around like, okay, if they were going to say like, hey, yes, I'm ready to sign on the dotted line today, do I have space for them this week, or am I going to have to tell them like, I'm going to talk to you next week because my calendar is a mess? So that's kind of how I choose when I reach out to people. But I feel like if they've not told me no, then there is still the possibility of yes. But it like hurts and like pains, to have to go back to them, especially if the answer is officially no, or it is totally okay to say no, not right now. I will reach
Right.
out like if my needs change, or I've even done it with salespeople where I'm like, I love that you think I make that much money, that I can like afford this $3,500 a month, like, intensive like appointment setting thing. But I said, no, I'll reach out if I start bringing in, $50,000 months, then yeah, I can have, a percentage of that go towards your effort. But also, with things like that, I can be like, no, that's not really realistic to me unless the way that my company is set up changes,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so I think it's important to give people solid yeses or nos. And it is helpful to hear a why, but you don't always have to say why. A no can just be a no. But that does help them figure out like if they can reassign staff, especially if they're holding, like if somebody is holding a space for you, like
Right.
that's, and banking on that money coming in, it can be really tragic if it pulls out last minute. And especially with everything that's going on in our country right now, like layoffs and things. I mean, people want predictable income.
Yeah, I try to be like respectful and be like the type of client or potential client with someone that I would want
Yeah,
them to be with me, And so
absolutely.
I'm trying to like keep that in mind where it's like when I send a proposal and I don't hear back, I hate that.
Yeah,
I want to know. And
totally.
also when I send a proposal and that person like knew from the beginning they were never going to work with me, like,
Yeah,
and then just like completely ghosts.
I know.
Um, like that doesn't feel good knowing that I put in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of effort
Mm-hmm.
to talk with them, to figure out their needs, to give them a specific proposal based on that, and then not hear back. So if somebody comes to me and I'm like, you know what, this is cool, but I'm never going to work with you because of X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be more open and honest about that now instead of just trying to like give them a vague brush off so that they don't put all the work into that because I know what that's like and that sucks.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, yes. Proposals take time, guys.
Yeah, they
So,
do. They do. Especially in this type of a scenario where, I feel like at least, and I don't exactly know what your process is like, but while I have specific packages that I offer, I also custom a lot of my
mhm.
offerings based on the company's needs and wants and desires. Like marketing is not like it's not like a cookie cutter approach to every
Yeah.
single business. Like every business is so unique, every brand is unique, and
Mhm.
I really have to learn who they are and what they're trying to accomplish before I can promise to help them,
Mhm.
Um, and that takes effort. So
Totally.
it's great. I love what I do, but it takes effort.
Totally. It's not marketing is not one size fits all. It is very
Correct.
specific.
Correct. Well, and kind of on a similar note, the last point that really hit me that it's just going to make me laugh and it's going to make you laugh too because
Mhm.
I've been trying to do this since I first started. I processes and like operations. I'm not going to say that they are my strongest suit on my own for my own business. I'm really good at applying them to other companies. I've done them for like the companies that I've worked for. I've done them for clients. I've started CRMs and kept track of them and implemented them and onto different teams. But for some reason, as a solo entrepreneur, I've had a really hard time doing that, and I don't know why. Just it's the discipline, I guess, of sticking to
Mhm.
something. But that was one of the things he mentioned was that you are not you're never too small for a CRM. CRMs aren't just for big businesses. And in fact, I would almost argue they're more important because with a big business, you have more resources, you have more people who are
Mhm.
overseeing things. So if something's not happening in the CRM correctly, somebody's likely going to catch it, right? It's easier to follow a system when you have a team of people. But when you are a single person or, you have a very small team, maybe not as much. And so having like a CRM that's set up really well for you and having like these operations in place that's set up really well for you, like you're only as good as your data, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think that was a really nice reminder to me of like, oh, you should probably get your shit together.
Yeah. It's actually really funny because not long after we recorded this episode with Aman, my CRM that I had quickly ditched auto renewed for like another year. And I was like, that's the universe telling me that I need to set it up and just do it. Like, that's my thing. So,
Great conversation with Amon. Thank you. Thank you. And Ashlyn, before we wrap up real quick, what is your win for the week?
my win is that I have been getting through a ridiculously large backlog of projects that have been weighing on me, and trying to do the stuff that is like fast, like sending out emails to like guests for our podcast, like the things that won't take very long, but I've been like kicking on my list. I've been like trying to do those shorter tasks first
Just get them done.
to get through them. How about you, Tori?
Well, I'm going to count this as a win. I have a discovery call this week.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Hey.
keep you posted on that. And what is your do better for the week?
I have just not been keeping up like good sleep hygiene. I blame the changing of the seasons, and I feel like it's
Fair.
lighter longer, and so I'm like staying up later, and so I need to go back to like setting a bedtime alarm, honestly, and doing it that way so that I can just keep on a good sleep cycle.
Fair.
How about you?
So mine is staying on top of admin tasks. I know that you were just talking about like sending those quick emails and things like that. Those are things that like I tend to clump together into like this, oh, that won't take me long, so I'll just do it at the end of the day, or I'll do them all together, and then I just don't do them. So staying on top of admin tasks. I have a pile of things on my desk today that I am not going to stop working until they're done. So that is my goal.
Awesome.
Well, as always, it was lovely chatting with you, Ashlyn. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And listeners, thank you for tuning in this week. And we have another great guest on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Take the Leap podcast. We hope you found useful takeaways you can apply to your entrepreneurial journey. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and keep in touch and follow us on Instagram. If you have business questions, shoot us a direct message or leave us a comment. We'll try to cover it in an upcoming episode. And visit our website, taketheleap-today.com, for more resources like our online course that accompanies this podcast.